I've been on quite a journey from my humble Pocomoke beginnings, and I'm grateful for the chance to share my story in hopes it may give you confidence and inspire you to dream big. Throughout middle and high school, and even into college, I often felt inadequate when it came to academics. I worked hard in school and made the honor roll, but school was something I never quite felt good at, or good enough. It was always a struggle. I have to be honest, I wasn't a good test taker. I was easily distracted. I struggled terribly with math and science. I failed tests. I took the SAT and ACT 4 or 5 times. Still not really managing to get the score that I was accepted into, that was acceptable to Division I colleges that were recruiting me for athletics. College classes were hard, and being an athlete made them harder. But my shortcomings did not define me. They helped shape my success. From the time I can remember, my dream was to be a fashion designer in New York City. I'd been taking clothes apart and putting them back together in a different way long before I knew what upcycling was. And in high school, I was painting on shoes and t-shirts and sewing into the night, making an outfit for the next day at school. Creating artwork with my hands was my lifeline. It was my stress reliever. It was a hobby turned obsession. My goals were clear: to see what was beyond Pocomoke by way of a field hockey scholarship, study fashion design, and move to New York to be a fashion designer, and one day have my own brand. Somewhat of a checklist, a dream map, you could say. And at night, I dream of achieving these goals, and by day, I'd work as hard as I could and do everything I could to try to make those dreams a reality. There have been several influential people that have impacted my life and have taught me life lessons that I've carried on my path from Pocomoke to New York and back. My parents have always been super supportive of my dreams. Even if they couldn't see it the way I could see it, they never shot me down. They lifted me up, and they prayed that I'd at least find the direction that I was looking for. My dad is a man of few words, but he has his classic sayings that kind of turned into life lessons for me. And one of his sayings was simply, finish the job. The older I've gotten, the more I value this simple saying. It has become almost a mantra for me, as I've seen its value in many situations I've encountered in my life. No matter what it is, if you tell someone you're going to do something, you do it. If you start a project, you finish it. And even if you've lost motivation or hope, you don't give up, you finish the job. For it's not how you start, but how you finish. And those are words that I live by every day. My mom is from New York, and her family moved down here. And naturally, they encouraged me to be a New York Yankees fan. I grew up idolizing Derek Jeter, a longtime shortstop for the Yanks. I admired not only his athleticism, but how he carried himself on and off the field. Not to mention, I thought he was pretty good looking. In 7th grade, I bought the book, The Life You Can Imagine, Life Lessons for Achieving Your Dreams. This book is about setting your goals high, about being a leader, and not being afraid to fail. As a 13-year-old kid who played field hockey, soccer, softball, and basketball, this book gave me the inspirational fire that I was looking for. Jeter wrote about visualizing your future successes and believing in what you can achieve long before it even happens. I recommend finding a person that you can look up to and emulate their actions. Read a book, watch a documentary, find a person that can be your role model and apply those traits to your life. Famous people were not always famous. They had to find their path too, so study their ways. This has been one of the keys to my success, and Jeter's book was an early guidepost that helped me achieve my goals in athletics, but also in life. In high school, I was a 3-sport athlete, and my true love was field hockey. I had been playing since I was in 2nd grade, and my mom coached at PHS with Miss Pusey when I was just a little girl. She actually coached your current field hockey coach, Miss Castaneda. And in 2014, I coached alongside Miss Pusey, which was really a dream come true. Needless to say, Pocomoke field hockey was kind of born into me. And it wasn't until I played for Miss Pusey that I really learned the true power of believing in your dreams and giving it your all. Because of her inspiration, I felt unstoppable on and off the field. She taught me that as long as I believed with my whole heart, no matter what it was I wanted, I could achieve it. And we won 3 state championships in my 4 years of high school, and I was recruited by several Division I programs. And every day I think about her and the determination that she instilled within me. After graduation from Pocomoke, I went to Radford University on that field hockey scholarship I had so hoped for. I played right wing for the Highlanders, and I studied fashion design and art. Like any student athlete playing at a high level, it can be a lot to manage. And did I mention I'm easily distracted? I missed a lot of class because of away games, and I had multiple injuries that required surgery and months of rehab, and my fashion design major was becoming increasingly demanding. There were times when I wasn't sure how I would fulfill all of my obligations. My field hockey career was cut short due to injuries, and I was devastated. Saying goodbye to the game I loved was hard, but by having more time to focus on my major and my art, my skills blossomed, and my designs opened the door for an opportunity for me to intern in New York for Michael Kors. It took me 5 years, and I finally graduated from Radford. Moved to New York a month after graduation, and I took an unpaid internship and put my life in one big suitcase equipped with a jar of peanut butter and jelly, just in case. I slept on an air mattress for months and stayed with friends until I could land a job in the fashion industry. And after several months of dwindling funds, working all kinds of odd jobs to keep my dream afloat, I landed a job, my first big girl job in the big bad city. I worked several years for trim manufacturers and suppliers, not in a creative position, but my job was focused on the business side of fashion, where I learned how our clothes were really made and the complexities of international business. I didn't enjoy the work so much, but I learned a lot about the industry and the career path that I had so dreamed about. I learned that the fashion industry is the second most polluting industry in the world, right behind oil. I was learning a lot, and it paid the bills, but on the weekends, I'd create jewelry out of buttons and t-shirts, and I'd sell them at street fairs in the city. The company I worked for took an economic downturn, and I lost my job. Although this was a shock, it was somewhat of a blessing in disguise, because that loss forced me to reevaluate my dream's direction. Those years in New York were some of the most stressful and lonely times in my life, and there were times where I just said, let me come home, I want to give up. But my determination to be a designer and have my own company was alive in my heart, and I had those voices in my head of my parents, Miss Pusey and Derek Jeter, telling me to keep pushing and don't give up. I came home for a long visit to see my family and took time to work on that business plan I had been meaning to finish. I focused my energy into doing research about textile recycling and how successful resale and vintage clothing businesses operated. After much hard work and with a supportive partner, I opened Mamers Sass Reinvented Fashions at the age of 25. Mamers Sass has been such a labor of love. It's currently TripAdvisor's #1 shopping attraction on Chincoteague, and we've been featured in the Huffington Post and the Washingtonian magazine. I do all the creating and sourcing of clothing and jewelry, and I run the shop's day-to-day operations. I feel so blessed to have been able to, give up the dream I had of living in New York to pursue the dream I really wanted to do. We have big plans in expanding our business, and it's really just the beginning of where I see our business taking off. You've heard my story, and you can see that although I wasn't the best student, I value my education, and I'm proud to be a PHS alumni. But I encourage you to really look at yourself honestly and assess your strengths and weaknesses and embrace them. Use your strengths to not be defeated by your weaknesses. We all have them. Successful people figure out how to use those failings and turn them into something positive. In closing, I'd like to share with you a short quote from Derek Jeter's book. And it says, "You have to make sure that you don't treat your dreams like they are only dreams. You have to feel that they can become realities. You will never think it's possible to attain them if you don't. So now grab hold of your life and take it seriously. I invite you all on your way to the beach this summer to stop by Mamerstas and to come in and say hello and check out what we got going on with our reinvented fashions and how we're trying to make a difference in the environment. So we are right next to Mr. Whippy. You guys probably have eaten there before, so come on by and say hello. I really appreciate you inviting me to be here, and thank you and have a good night.